The 1969 moon landing. Probably one of the most arguably humanity's greatest achievements. But that doesn't mean it was free of controversy, mishaps, and oddities. From conspiracy theories to technical glitches, the Apollo 11 mission has given us plenty to analyze, critique, and chuckle over.
No, dadgummit.
Let's break down everything that went a little sideways with the first human steps on the moon. The conspiracy theories. Let's kick things off with the conspiracy theories, because what would a world-changing event be without a few tinfoil hats? From the very start, there were whispers that the moon landing was staged in a Hollywood basement with Stanley Kubrick behind the camera. The shadows are all wrong, there are no stars in the sky, and don't even get us started on the fluttering flag. Despite all the evidence proving we did, in fact, land on the moon, some people still refuse to let it go. It's like arguing with someone who thinks the Earth is flat. No amount of logic will change their minds. The one small step, flub. Neil Armstrong's famous words were meant to be immortalized in history. That's one small step for a man. One giant leap for mankind. But what did the world hear? That's one small step for man. Missing the all-important A and technically rendering the sentence a bit redundant. Armstrong insisted he did say the A, but even he admitted the static might have swallowed it. Either way, a historic moment slightly marred by a missing article. It's like building the world's tallest skyscraper, only to realize you forgot to add the top floor. The flag waving. One of the most iconic images from the moon landing is the American flag standing proudly on the lunar surface. Except, wait a minute, why is it waving? There's no atmosphere on the moon, so how could that flag be flapping like it's caught in a gentle breeze? NASA quickly explained that it wasn't actually waving, it was just twisted and kept its shape after being planted. But that explanation hasn't stopped conspiracy theorists from waving their own flags of doubt. Who knew that a piece of fabric could cause so much controversy? The presidential phone call. President Nixon made a live phone call to the moon, chatting with Armstrong and Aldrin while they were still on the lunar surface. As cool as it sounds, it was also incredibly awkward.
The President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you, over.
Imagine trying to have a polite conversation with the leader of the free world while you're standing on the freaking moon. Armstrong and Aldrin were probably thinking, "We're a bit busy here, Mr. President," but instead had to nod and say, "Thank you, sir." It's like receiving a call from your boss in the middle of a vacation on another planet. The lunar module's computer glitches. The descent to the moon wasn't all smooth sailing either. As Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin piloted the lunar module towards the lunar surface, the guidance computer started throwing up error messages. In today's terms, it was like getting the blue screen of death right when you're about to finish an all-night gaming session. Thankfully, the folks at NASA were able to troubleshoot in real time, helping Armstrong and Aldrin avoid what could have been the most epic crash landing of all time. The moon is a bad place to find out your tech support is out of the office. The dusty takeoff. When it was time to leave the moon, Armstrong and Aldrin faced yet another challenge: a dusty takeoff. As the lunar module lifted off the lunar surface, it kicked up so much dust that the astronauts couldn't see a thing for a few moments. They were essentially flying blind at the start of their journey back to Earth. You know things are serious when your plan to return home begins with, "Just gun it and hope for the best." And for two guys who just made history, they probably deserved a little less drama on the way out. The missing tapes. You'd think the original footage of the moon landing would be stored in the most secure vault on Earth, right? Wrong? NASA somehow managed to lose the original tapes of the moon landing. Yep, the first human steps on another celestial body. And someone at NASA misplaced the tapes like they were old reruns of I Love Lucy. Turns out they were recorded over, yes, you heard that right, during a routine tape reuse. Imagine losing your wedding video because someone taped over it with a soap opera. It's a colossal whoops moment that has us all shaking our heads. The missing moon landing footage. Adding insult to injury, even the broadcast version of the moon landing wasn't safe from NASA's tape fiasco. The original broadcast was recorded over two, possibly during an archival purge where someone at NASA decided to clean house. It's like they said, hey, who needs the most significant broadcast in human history anyway? Luckily, there were copies, but this still ranks as one of the greatest archival blunders of all time. Michael Collins, the forgotten astronaut. While Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were having the time of their lives on the moon, Michael Collins was stuck orbiting above in the command module, all by himself. For years, Collins was the unsung hero of the Apollo 11 mission, often referred to as the guy who stayed in the car. Sure, someone had to keep the engine running, but Collins missed out on all the lunar fun. It's like being the designated driver at a once-in-a-lifetime party. You're vital to the mission, but you don't get to enjoy the good stuff. Neil Armstrong's heartbeat. Speaking of nerve-wracking moments during the lunar landing, Neil Armstrong's heartbeat shot up to 150 beats per minute. That's the kind of heart rate you'd expect from someone running a marathon or watching a horror movie. Not the famously cool and collected Armstrong. Imagine being so stressed that your heart's about to pound out of your chest while you're trying to park a multi-million-dollar spacecraft on the moon. Yet somehow, Armstrong managed to stick the landing, proving that even the calmest among us have their limits. The camera left behind. In their rush to get off the moon, the Apollo 11 astronauts accidentally left behind one of their cameras. It's now a piece of space junk worth millions, just sitting there collecting cosmic dust. But honestly, who hasn't forgotten something important in a hotel room? The moon might be the most expensive room they've ever stayed in, but hey, at least they didn't forget something crucial like the keys to the lunar module. The moon dust. Let's talk about moon dust, the glitter of the lunar surface. It sticks to everything and gets everywhere. When the astronauts returned to the lunar module after their moonwalk, they found themselves covered in fine, clingy lunar dust that smelled like gunpowder. This stuff wasn't just an annoyance. It caused breathing issues and made everything it touched dirty. It's like going to the beach and bringing home sand in every possible crevice. Except this time, it's moon sand, and it's causing your spacesuit to malfunction. The plaque's promise. We came in peace for all mankind, reads the plaque left on the moon by the Apollo 11 astronauts. It's a beautiful sentiment, but let's not ignore the context. This was during the Cold War, a time when the world was anything but peaceful. It's like showing up to a party with a banner that says, "I'm here to make friends," while secretly eyeing everyone's drinks. The plaque might be a noble gesture, but it's also a reminder that the space race wasn't exactly all about peace and love. The first meal on the moon. For such a monumental occasion, you'd think the first meal on the moon would be something special. Instead, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin dined on cold chicken salad of some sort squeezed out of a tube. While the rest of the world was watching in awe, these two were basically having a space picnic. With all the technology that got them to the moon, you'd think someone could have packed them a warm meal with medium rare filet mignon. It's a reminder that even in space, you can't escape the blandness of airline food. The spacesuit troubles. The Apollo spacesuits were engineering marvels, but they were also a total pain to deal with. Bulky, uncomfortable, and impossible to put on without help, these suits were more like personal saunas than futuristic armor. Imagine trying to scratch an itch while being wrapped in a few layers of fabric designed to keep you from boiling alive. The astronauts had to endure a lot just to step out onto the lunar surface, proving that even the best designed suits have their flaws. The quarantine debacle. When the Apollo 11 astronauts returned to Earth, they were immediately put into quarantine to make sure they didn't bring back any moon germs. Yes, folks, that was a real concern. They were imprisoned for 3 weeks in a converted Airstream trailer, essentially a glorified RV, on their return. After the most incredible adventure in human history, their grand welcome home was a tiny, cramped trailer. It's a miracle they didn't all lose their minds from cabin fever. Talk about a letdown, right? Buzz Aldrin punching a conspiracy theorist. Speaking of conspiracy theories, one man who wasn't having any of it was Buzz Aldrin. Fast forward a few decades after the moon landing, and Buzz found himself face to face with a persistent moon landing denier who demanded he swear on a Bible that he'd actually been to the moon. Buzz's response? A swift right hook to the guy's face. Turns out, Buzz wasn't just fighting gravity on the moon, he was also fighting the gravitational pull of nonsense back on Earth. And let's be real, if anyone deserves a free punch, it's the guy who left footprints on the freaking moon. The non-existent moon base. Some people still believe there's a secret moon base that NASA never told us about. Spoiler alert, there isn't. But that hasn't stopped conspiracy theorists from imagining we're hiding aliens or advanced technology up there. It's the ultimate pix or it didn't happen scenario. Except, it actually didn't happen. The idea of a hidden moon base is as plausible as finding a Starbucks on Mars. The Lunar Rover Joyride. By the time of the Apollo 15 mission, astronauts were driving around on the moon in a lunar rover, which they even got up to a thrilling 11 miles per hour. Who knew moon rovers could be so speedy? But this wasn't just a joyride. The rover was essential for collecting samples from farther distances. Still, you have to wonder if they weren't tempted to drag race on the lunar surface. After all, who wouldn't want to take a spin on the moon? Well, count me in. Buzz Aldrin's UFO sighting. Buzz Aldrin once mentioned seeing a light outside the Apollo spacecraft, which some took as evidence of a UFO. In reality, it was probably just a reflection off the spacecraft, but that hasn't stopped people from speculating. The truth is out there, but it's probably just a shiny piece of metal. Still, it's fun to imagine that even the moon has its share of strange lights and unexplained phenomena. The Soviet Union's reaction. While the United States was celebrating its victory in the space race, the Soviet Union was decidedly less enthusiastic. Officially, they downplayed the achievement, focusing instead on their own space program successes. But behind the scenes, it must have been a bitter pill to swallow. It's like losing the big game and then pretending you didn't even want to win in the first place. The Cold War tensions turned what should have been a moment of global unity into yet another chapter in the superpower rivalry. The Good Luck Mr. Gorski legend. One of the funniest and most enduring myths about the moon landing is that Neil Armstrong supposedly said, "Good luck, Mr. Gorski." While it's a great story, Armstrong later confirmed it was just a joke he never actually said. But hey, it's one small misquote for man and one giant leap for urban legends. The lunar rocks. The moon rocks brought back by the Apollo missions are still some of the most valuable scientific specimens on Earth, but a few have gone missing over the years, either misplaced or stolen. Imagine losing the most expensive souvenir you've ever brought back from a vacation. Somewhere, there's a thief with a very guilty conscience and a very dusty paperweight. Neil Armstrong's silence. After the moon landing, Neil Armstrong became notoriously private, rarely giving interviews or public appearances. Armstrong's post-moon life was the equivalent of leaving the party early. Except this time, it was from a party on the moon. Sometimes the best way to deal with fame is to simply walk away, right? The Apollo 11 autographs. In case they didn't make it back, the Apollo 11 astronauts pre-signed hundreds of autographs to be sold to support their families. They knew their mission was so risky that life insurance was out of the question. It's a sobering reminder that even the most heroic deeds come with some very real and very morbid preparations. The time capsule. In 1969, a time capsule was buried at the moon landing site. Unfortunately, there's no telling how long it will survive the harsh lunar environment. But this time, the ocean is space and the beach is the moon. Will future moon travelers stumble upon it, or will it be just another piece of space junk lost to time? The Moon Truthers. Despite all the evidence, some people still believe the moon landing was a hoax. They've pointed to everything from the lighting in the photos to the behavior of the astronauts as proof. But let's face it, the real conspiracy is how these theories have persisted for so long, despite all the overwhelming evidence. Some people just can't resist the allure of a good conspiracy theory, no matter how outlandish. The lack of women in the Apollo program. The Apollo program was a milestone for humanity, but it was also an all-boys club. Boys, boys, boys. Women were almost entirely absent from the mission, with their roles largely relegated to behind-the-scenes support. It took decades before women would play a more prominent role in the space exploration sausage fest, a delay that still feels like a giant leap backward. And there you have it, the 1969 moon landing, a monumental achievement wrapped in glitches, goofs, and the occasional punch to the face. Even the most historic moments aren't immune to a little bit of human error, conspiracy theorizing, and lost luggage. Let me know in the comments if you think the moon landing was real or fake. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more out-of-this-world critiques, and remember, always check your tape labels before hitting record.